up, everybody? This is the Booch, and welcome to episode 10 of my hit show, Booch Shoots On. And before I get into today's topic, which as you can tell is a doozy, this one's gonna be a doozy. I do have to mention something. Obviously, as you can tell, there's a bit of a facial change to the beard. As you guys can tell, the last couple weeks I've had a pretty big beard, pretty wide one. You know, the mutton chops were kind of growing out. People were talking about it. Now you'll see that I still have facial hair, but it's slightly been shorter. There's a reason for that. As you guys know, the majority of my videos are pre-taped in advance. I usually do like every couple of weeks, I'll tape like 3 videos, put them out there in succession. Well, over the last couple of weeks, actually earlier this month, I was doing a taping for a stand-up comedy pilot entitled No Drink Minimum. I can't really go into detail about it for legal reasons, but basically what it was is it was a online comedy show. I basically did a stand-up comedy performance here in this podcast studio with an audience that came in through Zoom, and I taped I want to say a special, but I taped a set for the pilot that's currently being edited and getting ready to be shipped out to networks. And for this stand-up set, I had to be clean-shaven. Now, when I say I had to be clean-shaven, that was not necessarily a demand from the man running the show. That was more of a demand for myself. Because when I do stand-up comedy, I like to be clean-shaven for the most part. It looks professional. It looks more, you know, it looks like, you know, even though I'm doing stand-up comedy, it looks like I'm serious about what I'm doing from a business perspective. Plus, the jokes that I was doing required me to be clean-shaven. Now, at some point down the road, if I come out with a comedy album or a comedy special, and the jokes that require me to be clean-shaven are all on those specials, then maybe someday I'll be more comfortable doing stand-up with a beard or walking around with a beard. But for the time being, I prefer to do it clean-shaven. So I shaved the whole thing off. I taped the performance, sent it in, and then after I sent it in, I then proceeded to grow it back. And the only reason I even grew a beard out in the first place is because of the pandemic. At HVMA, the offices are closed, so I had no incentive to really shave, because that was another incentive I had when I go to HVMA. You know, I want to look cleaned up while I'm in the office. And my boss preferred that I keep the beard anyway when I make my videos. So everything was cool on that front. So for now, until this whole social distancing thing is over and we can all go back to our normal lives, I'm going to grow the beard. And if the situation comes up where I need to shave it, I'll shave it. Or if not, I'll see how big I can make this thing before we all get back to normal. So now that I got that out of the way, just to kind of, you know, keep the continuity going, we'll get into today's topic, which is as I said before, this, I shit you not, is a real thing that happened in professional wrestling. And this week it is Booch Shoots On, The Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly how you would picture this particular match going. Basically, and I have the full video of this match in the description box. So if you feel you need to pause this and watch that before you watch this video, go right ahead. Or if you'd rather just hear me and then watch the video, you can go right ahead. Feel free to do what you got to do in this particular situation, because obviously this is as weird as I said it was. Basically, here's how the match went. For about 11 minutes, a good 11 minutes, you watch a referee choreograph an entire match. The referee is the star of the show. He paints the picture of two people wrestling who aren't there. And the only positive thing I have to say about this is that the referee sold it completely. The referee deserves all the respect in the world. The commentators deserve all the respect in the world for trying to get people to even remotely give a shit about this. But once again, the promotion deserves to go out of business. Because this is the type of shit that makes people not respect professional wrestling when they do dumb shit like this. This is almost as bad as the social distancing match I talked about last week. But the only difference is, at least in the social distancing match, there was actually 2 people in a ring. And like I said before, if this had been on Adult Swim, if this is a match that we put together on Daytime Fighting League, it would actually be entertaining and be fun to watch. Because Daytime Fighting League was not a legit professional wrestling company. It was an Adult Swim show that was meant to do bizarre Adult Swim like things. So that's why, even though there was athleticism involved and the matches weren't a work, they were a shoot, in Daytime Fighting League we legit were fighting and we're legit trying to win. It still wasn't put in the same category necessarily as professional wrestling. It was seen as its own entity, as an Adult Swim show. This, on the other hand, is trying to sell you on the idea that they are a professional wrestling company, and they use actual professional wrestlers to do this, which is why it shits on the business. And it's worse because they're trying to make you believe that 2 guys are fighting in the ring that isn't there. And the crowd is, I don't know if these are paid extras or people who are just incredibly stupid. I haven't decided yet which side of that fence is yet, but I need to know. If these are paid extras that the promoter is paying to be entertained by this shit, then I'm okay with these people cheering because they're trying to make their money, they're extras. You know, it's a good way to make some extra cash. I've done background extra work myself. Larry Wax, my mentor, is of course Atlanta's #1 movie extra. So I don't fault them if they're extras getting paid a couple bucks to do that. But if they're actual wrestling fans who went to this show and bought tickets, paid money to go see this, then they are the human embodiment of everything that is wrong with wrestling. I have never been more disgusted with a wrestling event, match in my life. The fact that people actually watch this shit bothers me. And the reason it bothers me so much is because as a wrestling fan, one of the things I have to endure and deal with every week, every time I go out, or whenever I interact with people, is people talking about wrestling not being an actual sport, or talking about wrestling being fake, or talking about wrestling, being an entertainment for retards. Their words, not mine. And I have to constantly defend wrestling everywhere I go, because I am a wrestling fan, and I try to explain to people that while there is a predetermined finish, that the athleticism in that ring is real. They really are doing that. When you see them doing all the athletic stuff that they're doing, it's legit. Like when someone falls off a ladder and hits the floor, they're really falling off a ladder and hitting the floor. I have to defend wrestling and explain this to people. And there are some people who, after I explain it to them, they get it. They understand it. They may not watch it. They may not want to see it, but they can at least understand it. But when you're trying to defend professional wrestling and people pull stupid shit like this, that is why it makes me so angry. Because I'll try to explain to people that there is sport and athleticism involved. It's combined with the entertainment. But then you got an Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan going on, and people are going, well, see, this shit is stupid. And then they think that all professional wrestling is like this. And that's honestly why I hated this so much. Because it just looked stupid. Because nobody was fighting. People honestly tried to make me believe there was a competitive match going on. It looked stupid from start to finish. It was complete garbage. And like I said, you're watching a referee choreograph this match. This is basically a match where the referee is the star. And with all due respect to referees in professional wrestling, if the referee is the star of the match is shit. Fact. If the referee is the most famous guy in the ring, there's a problem. It's just like when I used to do commentary, and Scott Hudson gave me the most valuable lesson. He said, if the commentators are the most famous people in the room, then the product is shitty. Because our job is to tell the story of what's going on in the ring. Which is why, again, I don't fault the commentators for doing what they did. They had to sell this match, because that's what you do as a commentator. No matter how ridiculous something is inside that ring, your job is to sell it like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And Lord knows, many commentators have had to do that. So again, I'm not faulting the referee, and I'm not faulting the commentators. As long as they got paid for the work that they're doing, all the credit in the world to them. My issue is with the promoter who put this shit together, who thought this would be a good idea and actually tried to scam people out of their money by convincing them to see two wrestlers that aren't there, to watch two invisible people fight. It's not fun, it's not entertaining, it's pure garbage. And it makes a mockery of professional wrestling. And that's what they don't realize that they're doing. They either don't realize it or they do realize it and they don't care. And if they don't care, then they're even bigger shitheads. And they even had somebody come in and do interference during the match, which is stupid. Because I don't know, if you're the guy watching at home, you don't know who he's hitting. You don't know if he's helping his buddy. You don't know if there's a heel turn. You don't know if there's a face turn. You don't know what's going on because you don't know who he's hitting. And yet somehow they have found a way to brainwash this audience into thinking they know what's going to happen. So the only logical explanation that I can possibly think of is everyone's in on it. The audience was told in advance who was going to win this match. So when the referee hit the 3 count, that was it. Or they all sat there confused until the ring announcer announced the winner. And they talked about, oh, this is a brother versus brother type of match. And, fans would be like booing the one guy, cheering the other. The whole thing just looked stupid. It looked like a freak sideshow. And that's something that in professional wrestling, people hate so much because we spend most of our time as wrestling fans and people who work in the business, because I've worked in the business, trying to explain to people why you should respect what's going on. Even if you don't like it, even if it's not your brand of entertainment, you should at least respect it, and here's why. And when you pull shit like this, you cause that respect to go down. And you make it even more difficult for people like me and Gator Ricky Ross and multiple other people in the wrestling business to get people to love it, enjoy it, and pay money to see it. And that is why I had to shoot on this. Also because Gator sent me this and said, dude, you got to talk about this match. And here's the thing. Some of you might be thinking, well, Booch, there's a pandemic going on. There's social distancing. They can't really have wrestlers in a venue. I mean, they could. Maybe they wanted to have a bunch of fans and have them do this and try to entertain the audience at home. I'd still think it's stupid, but maybe it would make some sense. Here's the problem, though. According to the date on this video, it took place August 15th, 2019. Long before any thoughts of a coronavirus or a pandemic was even going to break out. So they don't have the social distancing as an excuse. This is just pure horse shit. And, like I said, the only thing that's even remotely entertaining is the referee, who had to put on glasses and say, I can officiate this match if I have bad boy vision. So, like I said, this is basically a match where a referee got himself over by choreographing and convincing people that a match was taking place. And it was stupid. The whole thing was just incredibly stupid. There was no logic behind it. There's no good storyline behind it. There was nothing going on. It was an empty ring. I would rather watch wrestlers in a ring in an empty building than see a building full of people and no wrestlers in the ring. Because when I am watching a wrestling match, I'm not there to see the crowd. I'm there to see two wrestlers in the ring fight each other. You know, at least when there's an Invisible Man and another wrestler, there's at least another wrestler. And I can watch him look stupid for a couple minutes before I have to ultimately shut it off because it looks retarded. You know? I mean, it was actually kind of funny because about a couple days before I did this video, I was watching a booking video. I can't remember the name of it. It's on Kayfabe Commentaries. It's where they have, it's Guest Booker. Now I remember, Guest Booker. And they have the Disco Inferno on there. And he talked about pitching the Invisible Man, which a lot of people took seriously, but Disco said that he did it as a joke. Because a lot of times they'd be sitting in a writer's room and everybody would have writer's block, and sometimes Disco would do something goofy like that to A, get a laugh in the writer's room, and B, get people going. But he actually tried to book an Invisible Man scenario, and his was actually good. Like, it worked. Son of a bitch, it was brilliant. I mean, they literally sat there and was like, hey, we'll have like Norman Smiley, who had a character that was paranoid and wacky and crazy, and say, hey, you know, we say, coming soon, the Invisible Man, like an empty locker room. And then Norman Smiley's trying to figure out there's an Invisible Man, but only he actually believes it's happening. Other people are just like, what's going on? And then they would build this storyline up week after week, and then you would find out the Natural Born Thrillers, that were a faction there at the time, would actually be the ones orchestrating the Invisible Man gimmick to mess with Norman Smiley and then beat him down in the middle of the ring and reveal that they pranked him the whole time. And I actually thought that would have been a brilliant storyline, because it would have led to a wrestling angle that would involve Norman Smiley ultimately taking on the Natural Born Thrillers and not actually having to wrestle an Invisible Man. In that context, an Invisible Man gimmick can work. Like, if they tried that in WWE, they could do it with R-Truth. You know, where he thinks he's an Invisible Man. Because R-Truth, his gimmick is set up to where he could be goofy like that. But then ultimately set up to where it's a wrestling angle and he's not actually going to fight an Invisible Man. And if he does fight an Invisible Man, it's in the backstage area, not in the ring. Make it a random backstage segment that people can point and laugh at and then get back to the actual wrestling. And that's the thing that bothers me. Now, obviously, look, I love entertainment in wrestling. I know a lot of people don't like comedy stuff or goofy stuff or silly stuff in wrestling. I do if it's done right. I understand that it is sports entertainment. You're mixing sport with entertainment. If you do the entertainment side correctly, you can build a great story. And I don't mind it. But with this, there was nothing. When the bell rings, I expect to see in-ring action. And you didn't see it in this match. And if anything, my opinion of this company has gone down tremendously. Because it's like, you don't respect the business. You're in a business that you are disrespecting week after week after week with this goofy gimmick shit that's incredibly stupid. And when you do stuff like this, it insults the wrestlers, it insults the promoters, it insults people who bust their ass in this business and make a living and try to at least portray in some way that this is a tough business to be in and that it takes a certain amount of skill to be involved in it. And when you do hokey shit like this, you diminish that. You diminish their skills, you diminish their talent, and you spit in their faces. And that is why matches like this should not take place. And it's why no one should take, and I'll say their name, Game Changer Wrestling, no one should take this company seriously. Nobody. If you truly love professional wrestling, you are not endorsing any of this bullshit. Alright. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will conclude Booch Shoots On for this week. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, ring the bell to be notified so you never miss another episode of Booch Shoots On, as well as other additional Vinny Bucci YouTube content. As I mentioned before, I do have a link to the match, if you really want to see it, in the description box. Also in there is the merch store, storefrontier.com/Vinny Bucci, aka the Booch. You can go on there and get your Booch merch. I got my Booch 365 and Pizza Baby stuff up there. We got t-shirts, kids t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, tank tops, baby onesies, and now, with the pandemic going on, we now have face masks. That's right. Booch 365, Pizza Baby, and Essential Lives Matter face masks. Even though the t-shirt and the tank top has expired, I'm keeping the face mask up there for anybody that wants to buy one. You know, buy a face mask and show your support for all the essential workers out there, from the people working in hospitals to the people working in grocery stores, the people working at retail supermarkets, retail stores, supermarkets, everywhere. You know, everybody that has an essential job and has to get up and go to work and put their health on the line. That's what the Essential Lives Matter is created for, you know, to represent those people. And check back next week for a new episode. Until then, pizza, baby!